Hello, everyone. We're listening to another episode of Let's Talk Sports with Tim McCain. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing glory kickboxer Trouble Troy Jones. He is 13
Yes,
and
sir.
2 he's 13 and 2 as a kickboxer, Form 1 as a glory kickboxer. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Can't complain.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, when did your love for sports begin? Because you actually were a football player before you were a kickboxer, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I've always loved sports. Like growing up, it was always a part of my life. Like I was always outside doing something, playing basketball, baseball, football, whatever it was, wrestling, WWE, all that. We was all into everything. So I was a '90s baby. So '80s
Ah,
baby. And now I'm growing up in the '90s, so like we were outside, we were doing everything. So I've always had it. It's just like getting into school, playing basketball was my first like sport that I ever played that I fell in love with. So like
oh
probably
wow.
like the third grade.
Third grade.
Yeah,
Well,
that's when it all began.
that's crazy. But you know what? You're right. You're a true 90s baby. See, I was born in 94. I don't remember nothing about the 90s, so I don't
Yeah,
even know
yeah.
if I qualify. You
Oh
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah. See, that's why I'm like '80s. But I was born in the '80s, but I grew up in the '90s, and it was amazing.
Yes,
I
sir.
say
Yes.
like now I look outside. And this is the same, like my gym is like not far from where I grew up. And I was going out run my runs. There's barely any kids out. Well, now there's the pandemic, but prior
Right.
to that, it was the same. It was just like, man, I remember being all up and down all these streets during the summertime, running around on my bike, doing all types of stuff, bike jumps, all that. But it is
Mhm.
what it is. I think it was great.
Yeah, times have changed. You're right. I mean, kids now are totally on their phone. You got phones. They're teaching little kids more than the parents are sometimes.
Man, my daughter is very smart, and we give her this iPad games, and she's like matching colors, knowing colors, talking. She's only 2, not even 2 actually, and it's like I agree with you. There is crazy types of apps on these devices. I use them obviously, but
Hmm.
it was just different growing up in that being a kid.
I feel you 100. I totally agree with you. So basketball was your first love, but when did you transition to be a football player, and what was your position?
I played football, and maybe like I think I started in like the 7th grade.
Oh
That's
wow.
when I first started playing football. Yeah, yeah, in 7th grade is when I first started playing football, and then that's when I kind of like passed over basketball because I found football, and I played any position really: running back,
Wow.
quarterback, receiver, safety, corner. This is all in
Hmm.
like Pop Warner. Like
Okay.
you play everywhere. But in high school, when I started to get serious, when I started to like thinking that I could do well, I started. It was a safety. So I played safety and receiver in high school. And what after high school, I went on to junior college, which is in Illinois. It was a Harper College, Harper Palatine, Harper, something like that. Well, it's one of these junior colleges in Illinois. I can't remember the exact name, but it was Harper College. 2 years there. Ended up winning like a national championship there, playing safety.
Wow.
Led the nation in interceptions my freshman year. Um, Getting All American, all that. So
That's
that
crazy.
got me a scholarship to Minnesota State Mankato, which is where I graduated college, finished my college football career at. At safety, what was that? 2012, I think. Yeah,
Wow.
2012 was when I finished. Yeah,
Who were some of your favorite safety and receivers that you grew up watching back in the day?
man, we got some real good ones. We had Ed Reed. I like Troy Polamalu, Bob Sanders,
Okay.
John Lynch, uh, Dion, of course. I
Facts.
like Ty Law, Charles
Hmm.
Woodson. Man, there's a lot of Sean Taylor. There's a lot of people growing up watching that. This is all safeties
Yeah.
and DBs, but like those, that list alone is like Hall of Famers.
I
And
mean, that's a
then
fact.
on the receiver side, I mean, T.O., Randy Moss. I was a Minnesota Vikings fan. T.O., Randy Moss. Um, I like Chris Carter,
Mm.
um, Jerry Rice, Chad Johnson,
Oh, that's good. That's solid.
Brandon Marshall. There's a lot of guys that I watched that I like growing up.
That's solid, man. I never really got to see Sean Taylor play, but the greatest safety that I ever seen play, in my personal opinion, he's the best safety of all time. Ed Reed. To me, Ed
Ed
Reed.
Reed, yeah, that's where my favorites too. That was my absolute favorite. That's what I would try to model my football game around. I can pick it off. I can take it to the crib. I can hit stick. I can do all that. So that's what I wanted to be. Like everyone, I like Troy Polamalu, but I wasn't short and stocky. I was more of a long, lanky, or type of safety like Ed Reed. So
Mm.
that's where I modeled my game after. Once I got into like my like I ain't gonna stun like man, high school, our team was trash. So our team was trash. So you didn't really get the opportunities that I would deserve. I think I deserve, but at the end of
Mm.
the day, it made my journey more meaningful to me because I had to work really hard to get to where I got to. And yeah, it was dope.
That's
The whole part
crazy.
of my life, football is just amazing. It's an amazing sport, and it can like translate into anything. And that's where like
Yes.
when I started training in martial arts, I was able to pick it up so quick because I was
Mm.
already accustomed to this style of training. Like I'm used to being critiqued and saying, okay, well, you have to do it this way. Read the play, see what's
Mm.
going on. So that's the same way I look at watching or looking at film. I watch a lot of film because I grew up watching film. So I translate everything that I did when I was playing, and now I'm moving it over into fighting. So film study is very important to me because if you know what's coming, you're prepared for what's coming, then
Mm.
you're able to predict what's coming next. And if you can see develop a pattern in someone's game, then you can start to be think like predict them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the
I
way I
mean,
like to be in the ring.
see, that's interesting too, because like, how did that transition happen from being a safety, a successful safety in college, to becoming a
Hmm.
kickboxer? When did that trend? Did you always love the fight game?
I
Like, how
did
did you fall in
somewhat,
love with
yeah. I think everybody loves fighting. If
facts?
they don't wanna, if they don't wanna admit to watching it, like yeah, everyone loves watching two people fight. Like I watched like boxing fights when I was a kid, and like watching kickboxing. I did do karate for a year, but in like the sixth grade. But that's when you're like doing other sports, and I didn't know there was like an avenue to pursue.
Mm,
Like you don't see that on TV as a kid.
right.
You see karate, you don't see kickboxing. You see football, basketball, hockey, soccer, baseball. That's what you see
Yeah.
here in America. That's what we see. So that's what you grow up seeing like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do if you're into sports. And like I watched all the movies, kickboxer, all the Chinese kung fu movies, the Five Deadly Venoms, all that. My uncles put me on game.
Mm,
And so I watched all that stuff, and I've kind of always like had a interest in it, I guess, because just from that, I think any man, any like boy that's like a little rough that wants to go out and play, that likes football, and I think anybody would like to fight
mm.
because you're just like it's the purest form of competition, I think. And once you get over the fact that the fear of fighting, then you get down to the actual what it is as competition. Then I feel like anybody would want to do it or watch it.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You know, your story kind of reminds me of Deontay Wilder, who also was a football player in
Okay.
college.
Okay.
And he became a boxer. But a lot of people, they feel like he kind of had to reach his potential a lot faster because he didn't have that same skill that a traditional boxer would have. So someone who had a football background how did you develop? Did you feel like you had to hurry up to develop your kickboxing styles and strengths, or how did that process look like for you?
Man, I feel like I took my time because when I started training, I didn't know that I was gonna compete. So I graduated with a law enforcement degree. So when I got out of college, I didn't want to play ball anymore. I just didn't have the passion for it that you need to keep pursuing it. So I set it aside and gave it up and hung up my cleats and like I was bored. So I'm like,
Mm.
I'm working. I was bored. Like I need something. I'm used to structured time. I've got class, gym, practice, study hall, home, watch film, all over again. That's what I was used to at the time. Like I'm just getting out of college. So this is what I'm used to. And I'm like, I need something to fill those times that I don't have anymore. Like I'm just going to work and then that's it, playing video games or some kicking with my girl or whatever. And I started going to the gym. And well, one of my friends, he like brought it up to me. He was like, man, you should like try like kickboxing or MMA or something. I'm like, man, that's a good idea. I've always wanted to learn Muay Thai just because of I love Bloodsport. That was one of my favorite movies growing up. And one of my favorite scenes is when he's fighting the Muay Thai fighter, when they're like going back and forth, kicking each other in the ribs, boom, boom. Like that's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. So it just got me like it just restarted that interest in like learning. So I wanted to learn for the simple fact that if I knew that I was comfortable in a hand-to-hand situation, because I was pursuing to be a law enforcement cop or something, so I would be comfortable in situations where I needed to be hands-on with someone and not have to use other things. So if you feel comfortable with like when you're comfortable handling yourself in situations, you have a certain confidence about you when you walk into certain places. So I wanted that if I were to become a cop. So I wanted to have that. And that was my only reason for training. But after a while, I started to fall in love with just the art of it, the competition of it. So I trained for a full year. Didn't take any fights, and just was training, learning the basics, learning, losing weight because I wanted, after college, I'm like, oh man, I want to get big. So I started pumping hella weight. So I got really big, like 210, 215, 220, somewhere around there. So then I had to lose all that because I wasn't used to moving like that. I had to lose the weight. So I just took that time to hone my skills, develop, learn what a punch is, kick, all that, watch a lot of film because I knew if I'm going to like halfway through, I'm like, okay, I think I want to compete in this. So I started to do the things that I did to be successful in other areas of my life. So with football, started to watch a lot of film, put it all like watching people, like creating my own like created character, you can say.
Mm.
So I would put it down on paper, like who did I want my IQ to be like? Who was the best at reading fights, watching people like Samat, Sanchez, people like that, who had the best cross, who had the best hook. So I'm just trying to develop each area that I wanted myself to look like and emulate those people and just use it into like develop my own way of fighting.
I got you. I got you. And so what was your experience like um pre-fight and also post-fight in your very first championship um as a Muay Thai amateur?
As an amateur, my
Yes, sir.
first, you said the feeling?
Yes. What was your feeling like? What was the buildup like? Like you worked to develop this, you spent, you learned the game, you studied the game, you fell in love with it. What was your first experiences like? What was your feelings like going into the ring for your
Yeah.
first amateur championship?
So my first actual ring experience came at the TBAs. You heard of the TBAs?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there at the TBAs is when it was like the C class novice division I was in. and it's the tournament. So it's like 4 fights. I think I had to. My bracket was full because I was like a popular weight. I think it was like 179 to 186 or something like that. And my bracket was full. I had like 4 fights. So I knew I had to fight the first guy. I just went in there, quit like, like this was my first time ever fighting. Like I fought maybe. I've like got into fights, like couple blows here and there, like in street fights, but never nothing like what I was about to go through.
Right.
And I don't know, it's different. You like the adrenaline, everything's rushing, like you feel it, like you just go out there. I went out there trying to go 100%, knock dude head clean off his shoulders in the first round. And then I didn't do that, but I was able to, it was just like it was kind of ugly, honestly. It might have been ugly. I can't even remember what my first fight was like. Well, I can kind of see it, but it was like a clinch fight. I like clinched him to death because I was just stronger, bigger. So then I moved on to the next round. Then I'm fighting guys that are like bigger, taller, like this, like 6'4". I think the last two guys I fought were like 6'4", like 186, something like that. So it was like a lot of clinching, but like the feeling, it was just like I knew I was gonna win regardless. That's just who I am. I knew right away. The first day, I was like, oh, I'm winning this easy, no problem. And then I went out there, beat 2 dudes. I think no, I didn't even get any knockouts in. I didn't even know how to knock people out. It was just do whatever I can to win. I still had skill, just like it was sloppy skill, like like an first amateur fight. But as the tournament went on, like I started to get more comfortable. I started to slow down a little bit. And I think that helped me, just having 4 fights back to back to back. And I think that helped me like feel like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this, and not what I was doing. Like I'm exhausted these last couple of fights. I need to slow down and be able to do it in spurts, like boom, boom, boom. And that's towards the end, that's what it was. And you just like learning, man. Like amateur belts, I don't really take too much stake in them because you don't really know who you're fighting. Are you fighting the best people or are you fighting the people that can afford to come?
Interesting.
So I mean, obviously I do love I have them there. I think they're at my mom's house actually. So, I mean, I do have them. I do cherish them, but they don't mean a lot to me. I want the pro belts. Like I don't have any pro belts. I have pro am belts. I have gold medals. I have a lot of amateur belts. I don't have any pro belts. That's what I want.
You're gonna get them. So, you're gonna get them. Well, speak on the progression because you talked about in your first fight, you didn't know how to knock people out. You know, in your very first tournament. But now you go on interviews and saying, I knock people out in the second round. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna knock people out. So how to speak on that progression from being somebody who fell in love with the sport, took his time to build himself to become the athlete that you are today?
I think it's just like hard work, dedication to it, and like just putting in the hours. Like I give a lot of credit to like my strength and conditioning team at Game Face Training. Just like those guys over there, like help me with my explosiveness. And this is stuff that I've been doing my whole life. Like it's all football training. It's all explosive training. So I know how to get it. I know where I need to do to go there. So it's just like I had to focus on it. I stopped doing it because I was trying to become a fighter. And then when I became a fighter, now I have to implement things that my body's used to doing and that I know is going to help me with being faster, more powerful, quicker, it's more explosive. Like those things, doing them is just only going to make you better. So that's when I was knocking people out prior, but it started happening way more once I started like putting back on them, like the muscles, the fast twitch muscles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So who were some of the greatest opponents that you faced throughout your amateur and your professional career?
Man, I fought a lot of good people. as an amateur. Like as for me, it was like an amateur, but it was pro-am. So I was fighting against professionals. So I did like IFMA. I did all that a couple times. So I was fighting really good people. And that's what like I kind of flew under the radar because people don't really know how good the competition is over there. So
Mhm.
I fought man, it's this Thai guy. He's really good. I forget his name. It's a man, maybe it'll come back to me. But man, he was really good. He's like a Thai fight champion over there, the 170
What year?
kilo right now. Oh, when I fought him,
Yes.
this was probably 2016.
Ooh.
Yeah, 2016. I fought him in Sweden for those are the semifinal, quarterfinal, semifinal match to in the IFMA tournament. No, the semifinal. So yeah, I fought him, won, but it was like a really close fight. I mean, this is like I have 12 amateur, 14 maybe amateur fights at this time, fighting a Thai fight champion that's probably that had like 100
Ooh.
plus fights. So I mean, I felt good. Like obviously, I wanted to win, but you got to go through those losses to see what type of person you really are, what type of fighter you really are.
Mm.
And I fought Vital Haruk. He's a Belarus. Like he's won IFMA A class like 10 times. So
Mm.
he's really like a really well-known fighter. He's overseas. He's fought in Kunlun. He was really good. I fought him at the World Games. I fought this guy from France who was really good. I can't remember his name either, but he was really good. Murtho Grunhart, my last fight. I mean, I think he's probably the one that sticks out the most because he's been around since the K1 Max days. So I feel like he is probably like the best person that I fought and most well known.
Mm.
And I mean, the list is gonna keep continuing because I want to keep fighting the best. Whenever things do open back up, I want to keep fighting the best people there is, and I think I'm in a position where I can make that happen because I worked to get to this point where I'm in the I don't even know where I'm ranked at, like seven or eight or something like that in the world. So I want to keep challenging myself and fighting the best people I can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What was it like getting the call from Glory to fight for their promotion?
I mean, that was everything. Like when I started fighting, that's when Glory was like literally just starting. So that was my first time like seeing like kickboxing on TV was Glory. So I'm like, oh, that's where I'm going. So when I got the call, I'm like, oh yeah, this was meant to be from the beginning because I already knew that's where I wanted to go when I started. And when it got popping, like I'm like, yeah, Glory is where I want to fight. So I just did everything I could, and like it happened. So like manifesting it, I manifested it. And obviously, I didn't do it all by myself. There was people along the way that helped me put my name in. But at the end of the day, it's about what I did in the ring, and that's what got the attention of those people. So, um, yeah, it meant like I didn't feel like I was there. I didn't feel like I made it. It was like, all right, this is my tryout, my audition. And I went in and I fought Paul. But now no, so like so I came, so I lived in like I moved to Thailand. Me and my wife, we moved to Thailand and we lived there for almost a year. And when we came back, like this is from like 2016 to like 2017, 28, yeah, 2017. So like we left because I qualified for the World Games. I won gold medals in the IFMA Worlds, which is similar to like for people that don't know what IFMA is, it's like if you like Olympics of any other sport. If Muay Thai isn't in the Olympics, but this organization puts on the biggest and pro amateur competitions There is. So I don't know if you know what IFMA is.
I have to learn more on it. Actually, I need to study it.
So
So
okay, so that's what I'm saying. So it's like the Olympics for Muay Thai, for like just that sport. All the countries, hundreds of countries, 120 countries are
wow,
there. The
that's
best people from each country: China, uh, Netherlands, France, Germany, Belarus, Russia, Thailand, Australia, Poland, Turkey. Huge, massive teams. And we, the Americans, we have maybe like 20.
yeah. I want you to speak on that. I actually want you to speak on that because I was talking to a friend of mine, and you even brought it up too. When you see on television, you see the football, you see the baseball, the basketball. Why do you feel like kickboxing doesn't get the respect it deserves in
It's just so
America?
much, man. There's so much. We are oversaturated with sports. Like America,
Mm,
their our best outsource is sports. Sports is global. Like we got, there's so much. Why would it, like I just don't think there's enough personalities in the sport of kickboxing either. That's gonna,
mm,
like, I don't know, generate like a Conor McGregor. Like I don't see who else. There's some people that's trying, but I'm not the type of person that's gonna be out here like running my mouth. And I mean, I talk my shit, but I ain't on the level of Conor McGregor. So it's
right.
just, I don't think there's enough personalities. And I don't know if there's just too much. There's a lot of sports going on here.
I agree with that. But I want you to also speak on the personality bit. What does having a huge personality cost the fighter? You know, because when you put yourself out there, obviously you're gonna get hate. So why not be vocal like a Conor McGregor? Why is that?
I just
Why would
think
that be a
more
bad thing?
so as a person, like he's like, that's the type of person he is. I'm like, I'm not that type of person. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, 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 for sure.
there's just different types of people, and to people that gravitate towards, like, I don't know. I can only speak for myself because I can't tell you about no one else but me. But
True.
me, that's not the type of person I am. I'm a soft spoken. I mean, I talk my shit, but I'm soft spoken. I'm humble. I'm ready to work. I put in the work. I grind. And that's just me, a blue collar worker. Like that's how I always been. I mean, of course, I've been confident. I'm confident in myself, but I don't feel like that I need to put it on Front Street and talk more than what I do. Like at my gym, our motto is Oprah non-verbal. Is
Mm,
words not deeds, or deeds not words.
mm.
So I just like, and that was, I lived by that before. So I just think like personally, that's just not me. And I'm not gonna, if it's not me, it's not me.
100. You got to be yourself. 100% agree with
And that's
that.
the thing. Like if people aren't like, you gotta be yourself. And if you fake it, people can tell. So I just be me. And if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. If you want to root for me, you do. If you don't, I'm cool. I'm gonna still be in the gym, putting in my work
Yes,
regardless.
sir.
So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I have a two-part question for you. How has sports, specifically kickboxing, changed your life? And also, what is it like being able to travel and live in certain places like a Thailand? What are those experiences been like for you?
it's been amazing. I can't even like put in, like I can, it's hard to explain because how like the way that I was before doing all of this and the way that I am now, like I see things differently, like living in those places, seeing different countries and seeing how people live, seeing what they do. You like get like a different perspective on the world, on life. And you kind of like, I've learned like over time, like to be okay with who you are and what you got and what you got going. Because if you truly love what you're doing, then that's all that really matters. If you're passionate about it, because if you want to travel the world, travel the world. If you want to be a kickboxer, be a kickboxer. Just do do what you love, and like I don't know, just think like being able to see these different places, and my wife can tell you like just being around these different cultures and seeing how they live, like it's just eye opening. It's
Yes, sir.
beautiful. Like I got to see a lot of cool stuff, a lot of different architecture, and like how like I've been in like Europe, Poland, I've been in Thailand, I was in Vietnam, I've been to
Man,
Sweden, I've been to Japan, been to Peru, been to Mexico, been to Netherlands, I've been to Paris, been to France, been to Belgium, Germany. Man, it's like the list goes on. It's like I just seen so much, and it just like I'm grateful for being able to see what I've seen, because I know like even people closest to me, like my mom, she's never been overseas. Even though she has the means to do so, she just never done it. And maybe she's afraid to, maybe she's not. Like it's just like I'm grateful because I've got to experience that life, and I'm still living it, and it's dope.
that's crazy. So, okay, 10-year-old self, let's say 10-year-old self, he sees what you're doing now. What are some of the things you would think um, you would view of yourself being a 10-year-old kid looking and seeing your current self and your state of mind and where you traveled and changing sports and doing what you love?
What do you see my 10-year-old self saying?
Yeah, what do you think your 10-year-olds, what do you think your 10-year-old self, how you think he would view himself looking at you and your current endeavors?
I mean, I think he would look at me and be like, man, I can do what he's doing. Like just because the what I put out, and like I don't hide the turmoil, I don't hide everything. It's not always easy, but I think someone looking, they can see in what I've done and be like, oh, I can do that because he did it. And that's just because like there's not a lot of black kickboxers, a lot of black fighters or Muay Thai fighters. So
Right.
like I saw and learned from people that I saw, like Simon Marcus, Dorian Price, Cyrus Washington. There's not many, but looking at it, like now I'm that person that they can look to, the next person in line, who like, if he did it and he looks like me, I can do it. So that's it. Like,
I love that, man. I love that. Being a pioneer. I mean, Jackie Robinson was a pioneer. You know what I mean? Muhammad Ali was a pioneer. So that's that. I love that mentality, man. So, what is success um, to Troy Jones?
man, that's a good question. I always thought success was like having a lot of money and being
Yeah.
able to do whatever you want, but like I work hard, and I'm not saying I don't have the most money. Like I'm not a Conor McGregor like kickboxing. I'll tell you straight up, you don't make that much money doing kickboxing. That's a fact. If you want to make money, do MMA or boxing. That's
Mhm.
your best bet. But or leave America because there's no market here. But at the same time, like I love doing what I'm doing. And like before COVID, like we were like starting to develop a good audience in America. So I don't know. I feel like just doing it, being here, like loving what I'm doing, that's successful to me. Like I love doing what I'm doing. I've got to travel. I've got to bring my wife with me. My daughter has been certain places with me as well. So I mean, that's successful to me. I'm doing something that I love every day until I want to be done. Then I move on to something else and kill whatever that is that I want to do. But
Yes,
I put 100% into this, and I'm glad I did, because now if I look forward and I look backwards and like make sure I put everything in when I did it, because I quit my job, sold everything, literally
mm,
sold everything. I gave up everything to pursue this dream and
wow.
to go and travel the world and live in different countries with my wife. Like we did everything. We sold everything, sacrificed
Wow.
everything. So I can be proud to look back and see that I gave everything to something 100%. I reached the peak. I'm in the top 1% in the world in my sport. And I look back and then be proud of it. That's successful to me because I gave it all. I gave it 100% and didn't look back, didn't get sidetracked, stayed to my mission. And I'm still on that mission. So I'm not done. I'm still in my prime. So I still have a long way to go, but where I'm at, like, that's dope.
Yes, sir. So how did you mentally prepare for that? I mean, selling, stopping everything and just focusing on your passion. One, there had to have been naysayers saying, there's no way you should do this. There's no way. And also, like, how did you fight your own mental blockers, if you will, in pursuing your dream?
Guess it's like, man, I give all the credit to my wife. She's the one who was like, do it. And I was like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, cause like, I mean, I believed, but at the same time, like, she believed 100% into me, into what I was doing. She saw what the effort that I put in. I was working 40 hours a week and training 30, 35 hours a week. So I was literally gone all day. So she saw the work that I was putting in, and it was just like, she saw that the further along that I got into my fighting career, the further I wanted to move away from being in law enforcement.
Mm.
It was distracting. Like, I got to go to work. I'm limping around at work because I just fought last weekend or 3 days ago. Got to come back into work because I only took off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So like, it's just like, it got to a point where like, man, if I wanted to be what I thought I could be, and that's the world champion, I had to give it up 100%. And that's what my wife, she just told me, is like, just do it. And we did it. July 21st, 2016 was the day I quit my job, my last day of my 2-week notice. And I ain't looked back since.
Yes, sir. That's amazing. That's an
And
amazing
we moved
story.
to Thailand in December of that year. So she had to finish her thing. I was still fighting, doing like my tournaments and getting qualified for the World Games and all this. But I knew that I was going to qualify. So we already had planned to move because I'm like, oh, I'm qualifying. There's no way that I'm about to go down to Peru and lose when I
Mm.
just gave up everything to be here. So I pre-planned our trip around being qualified for the World Games that I wasn't even qualified for. So I just
Wow.
did it.
What was that like? Going to something you weren't qualified for?
Well, I knew I was going to qualify. So
Mm.
so what happened? So um, the World Games was July of 2017.
Okay.
So I knew that the World Games was in July. So, and I could qualify for Muay Thai or kickboxing. I didn't qualify for kickboxing, but for Muay Thai, I qualified. I got invited into the qualifier for the Pan American Games in 2016, which was in Peru. So before I quit my job, I knew I was going to Peru to qualify for the World Games. So quit my
Mm.
job, and then we booked everything around moving to Thailand and eventually like just training for the World Games while we're there. So we did that, and then I had to qualify. So I just had the confidence in myself that I was gonna do it. So
Yes, sir. That's amazing. So my last question to you is, I mean, you already talked about it, but I just want the people who will listen to this to just really hone into this. So what are your personal keys to success? And also, what is your personal way to also build confidence as not only as a fighter, but as a person?
can you repeat it again? You broke up
So,
a little bit.
okay, cool. My question was, what are your personal keys to success? And also, what are some ways to build confidence, not only as a fighter, but as a person?
Okay. Some of my keys to success. I mean, find what you passionate in, find what you love. Give it 100%, whether it be sports, education, real estate, whatever it is in your life, music, whatever. just give it 100% and like do whatever you have to do to make sure your ultimate goal is to be living your passion. Like I feel like we all try to settle too much and go with the flow of what everyone else's, or everyone else has like a timeline on things.
Wow.
And there's no, like, every person has their own different timeline. You don't have to follow a certain path to being the person that you want to be, because there's only one way to do that, and only you know that. So I just say that we'll do it, be passionate about something and do it 100%. And you can look back if it fails or if it's successful. You can always look back and be like, I gave it all, my 100%, I gave it my all, and then and move on if it doesn't work. But at least you can look back like, I gave it my all, I did it my best that I could. And if you have to restart, then restart. It is what it is.
Yes, sir. That's amazing. So where can
And
people find you on social media? And also, do you have any merchandise? You gotta
I
have.
I do, but let me get to your second part of that question, like building confidence.
Yes, yes, yes.
I remember I remember one of my football coaches told me this a long time ago. And his name is Coach Bell, Brian Bell. Shout out to him, one of my coaches at Minnesota State, Mankato. He was like, every morning, just look in the mirror, grab your nuts and say, I'm your own man. And literally, like, you can do that as a woman. You don't got to say you're nuts, but you just do it. And you're in the mirror by yourself. Like, you can say that to yourself every day. And that's from right there, that's going to start building confidence. And from there, you just take it from there. Like, that's the easiest way.
Okay.
Just look at only you. It's only me and you. It's only me. It's me and my reflection. You gotta say you're your own person, and really mean it. And
I love it. I love it.
yeah.
That's good, man.
But yeah, I do have my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's all Troy Trouble Jones. I do have merchandise. It's all on my website. But if you can't find it on the website, you can just inbox me in the DMs on Instagram or wherever you find me. We can get it all. We can get it shipped to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much, Troy Jones, for your time. I really appreciate it, man. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too, man. Appreciate you.